All right, so welcome everyone to the what are we at? Week 14, AGFFA report, episode 13, I think, something like that. Can you guys believe we've been doing this consistently every week?
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
I'm impressed that we actually kept it up. We're going into the week 2 of the AGFFA playoffs and including the consolation bracket as well. Anyway,
Jeff's
I'm
in
here
it.
with Gumby, Jeff, and Dan. How you guys doing?
He's
Doing
busy.
well.
Hey boys,
Go ahead. What was that, Jeff?
just said hey boys.
Hey, boys. Gumby pulled off a big win this past week. Over,
Yes, indeed.
yeah, Dad. I thought you actually had the best chance after like the first set of games.
Yeah, because I was hanging in there with him. He had like 4 players, and I think I had 3, and it was okay. Ben, I needed Ben to go off. He needed a couple more touchdowns, and some to Claypool. Claypool didn't do much in that game.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
I was in it.
if Claypool had a 15-point game, that probably means Ben has, what did he have, a 38? He probably could have had a 50-point game against the R.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for 50, and Claypool with 20.
Yeah, it could have definitely been a different game if I can't believe they looked past the R words, the football team, but whatever.
They're not a bad team. Their defense is pretty good.
No,
Their
we were
defense
talking
is-
about this. We were talking about this the other day, my dad and I, that their record is not reflective of just the talent that they have, and they got a good coach now too. And it took them some growing pains, but they've got a really stout defense, and offensively they're really efficient. I mean, and you're looking at Alex Smith, and through the game, I was looking at his numbers, and he's putting up, he's completing 68, 69, 70% of his passes. I'm like, it's just one of those really efficient. Don't take a lot of chances. Just get the first down.
Have you looked at their defensive front? It's
I got a good look of it this past week, and
they're rotating in like 6 Pro Bowlers.
I know.
So, I mean, I know there's Sweat, there's the rookie Young. Who else is on that? Is Kerrigan still there?
I think he's gone.
Kerrigan's gone? Okay.
They've got a fantastic defensive front rotation. They don't wear down. It doesn't matter how many times you run the ball against them. They don't wear down because they've always got dudes.
Well, I think the Steelers were bound to lose a game, especially the way they've been playing over the last few weeks. But, that's one down. That's fine. They got to get the shit together, finish out the season, try to get that number 1 slot. If it's still, they still have it, but, they got to win. So Cleveland's still there. Cleveland's still hanging in there too.
Yeah, Cleveland, but we'll see how they do when we play them again.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think we had. I don't think that we got out talented by the Redskins. I don't think that's a talent matchup thing. I think that they found like a flaw structurally in how our defense works, which you can fix a structural problem. You can't fix talent. Like, you can't make a guy suddenly able to do more than he's capable of doing. But if there's like a flaw in your defensive scheme, you can fix that. And I think that's, if anything, it's a bit of a not a wake-up call, but a bit of a, hey, this is fair warning. You can, if a team wants to, and they've got a good pass receiving back, then you better be prepared for that, because they will throw the ball. That will be open all the time with the scheme that we're playing. So if they figure that out, it's a structural thing. It's not the end of the world. And like you said, Dad, they weren't going to go undefeated. We all knew that. They weren't like that level of talented, team.
I thought they were going undefeated. They had the schedule for it and everything. Obviously, the Bills this week is tough, and I think the Colts later on. But I actually thought it was possible.
Yeah, it was.
Fan. I'm a homer, so
it was. But receivers are dropping the ball too much for Ben. Too many drop balls. The defense. The only real problem I saw with the defense was those little swing passes out to McKissick. There was nobody around, and he picks up 12 yards, hits a first down. You stop that shit, especially on 3rd down, they're picking up 12 yards,
I'm not a defensive coordinator, but is it just like really hard to put a safety on a running back out of the backfield? I don't understand why why that works as well it does in the NFL in general.
I think the safety would have to be too close to the line in order to make sure you cover him to not pick up the 5 or 6 yards that you're going to get out of those screen type passes, or the.
It just seems like it works so effectively across the NFL, not just in that particular game, that no team really defends that particularly well.
Well, we try to run like a hybrid linebacker / safety down at the line of scrimmage a lot. Like we run a 3-4, but a lot of times we're running like an extra safety / linebacker. That's what what's the guy from last year? Mark Barron was supposed to be that guy last year, and that turned out to be nothing. But now we use Mike Hilton, who's more like a cornerback in that position, probably because of the depth issues that we got, and Avery Williamson wasn't there. I think another problem, though, last week against Washington, and this is not, I don't know if anybody's talked about this, but when Robert Spillane got injured and he was out of the game, we forget that Robert Spillane is the quarterback of the defense. He calls the plays, and he calls out the line, the formation, and make sure everybody's on the same page. With Spillane out, that moved to Vince Williams, and Vince Williams was doing that job a few years back and was just not good at it. Okay, that's why he doesn't do it anymore. So we had some issues there. I mean, if you lose your starting quarterback on offense, you're gonna maybe have more false start penalties or pre-snap formation issues. Same thing on defense. We lost our quarterback of the defense in the game, and then things went downhill. Shit happens.
Football.
That's what you gotta prepare for. Yeah, but to your point, Gumby, I don't think it's hard to do that, but it does change up a little bit about how they handle things. And I didn't really see a whole lot of that hybrid type scheme that they normally would run.
Whenever I'm watching a football game and I see somebody doing what was happening to the Steelers, where every time you need 3rd and 7, they just throw a little out pass to the running back in the flat, and there's like nobody within 20 yards of the dude.
Yeah.
It's infuriating to me to watch that.
Oh, yeah, it was frustrating. It really was. I think they converted like a 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 13 or one of those little plays. Like, oh, geez, really?
Yeah, Jeff, that was a killer because, I mean, they continued the drive. I think they ended up getting a field goal out of it, or maybe it was a touchdown at the time. I can't remember. But, yeah, that sucked. We had them on their 20-yard line. That was a killer. Also, I mean, obviously, that field goal at the end of the first half where Alex Smith ran off with the ball, that was – I mean, we talk a lot about trying to fix our league, the AGFFA. They need to fix that shit in the NFL. That was bullshit. That should not have happened. There should have been a penalty. You just, clock is running. If a quarterback's running off with the ball, 15-yard penalty, delay a game, something like that. It's bang, bang. You got to grab the ball or call the flag. That's just my opinion.
No, you're right. I forgot about that, but that was weird. Like, why did they give them a benefit because they screwed up? That doesn't, whatever.
I mean, I know the Steelers the week before kind of got a benefit of, the clock was running against the Ravens, and instead of spiking the ball, they went for the touchdown. But the whole idea was they were laying on the guy, right?
Here's another thing, too. They had a 1st and goal from like the half-a-yard line, right? And they failed to get in. And that killed them. And I don't understand. A half a yard away, just bend, put your head down, push the line forward, cross the fucking goal line. I didn't understand that run, throw a pass to a running back who can't catch it. And, 4th down, they'd go for it. They lose, and I'm all for going for it on 4th down in that situation because they don't make it. They're stuck at the half-yard line. But they got out of that shit and went down and scored. And that was a killer. That was a turnaround.
And to your point, Dad, that they got cute with it too a couple of those times. And I don't understand, like, if they during Chase Claypool's 4-touchdown game earlier in the year, he got one of his touchdowns on a jet sweep, and that wasn't his first touchdown on a jet sweep. They've done that a couple of times, and he's scored. Right. Down there on the goal line, they're doing the same motion, the same action, but they're not handing him the ball. So I don't know if anybody's really even afraid of it now because they're like, I'm not going to hand the ball off. Just key on the running back and take care of it. If you're going to do something like that, you have to execute it and you have to make it a viable threat. Otherwise, it's nothing more than window dressing. It's not going to do anything. Yeah. Why have Claypool in there? Put another tight end or put Watt in the backfield. All right, don't be running the cute stuff if you're not going to make them at least think about it because you actually do hand the ball off.
There's no question they should have scored there, one way or the other. That pass that went to McFarland, I guess it was, it was off his hands or whatever. But even if he had caught the ball, the defenders were right there. They were going to stop him from getting in on that play. So, to me, that was bad. They scored that touchdown. They're ahead. They don't lose momentum. and maybe they start catching more balls. I don't know. That was just ugly.
Look,
But they were bound to lose. They were bound to lose the way they've been playing. I guess there's enough talk for the Steelers.
I was about to
Gumby's
say,
going, what the hell? Will you stop this shit?
yeah, I mean, obviously it came down to that game. You had some chances, but it just didn't happen. When I
Yeah.
did a quick recap the other day, the one that was so close that I mean, she was in it, she was out of it, she was
Yeah,
back in it. It was
yeah.
Jess against Mike, and
That's another one.
I mean,
I was surprised that went the way that went.
I know. Well, I mean, Jess and I were too. Like, just Sunday was a great day. It was ups and downs. It was the interception by the Rams for that touchdown. We were both jumping up and down, like, holy shit, you might actually pull this off. But yeah, I felt really bad for it because Deontay Johnson, he dropped a couple balls on Monday.
Yeah, but he still got 20-something points.
He got 20, I think. And, like I was saying, there was that 2-minute drive that the Steelers got the ball back in the very first play through the interception, but that was the drive. That was the one where it was going to be dink and dunk, or Deontay would have been involved somehow. That could have been the win. So congrats to Mike. Good job. And congrats to Gumby on the win.
And the big game is now coming up.
Yeah, the powerhouses are going at it. And then I got my win against Shook. And Savages pulled off the upset against Hookham. Although I think we talked about it last week that was actually going to be a lot closer than probably.
Yeah, I think some of us picked Savages. I don't know if it was a sweep or a mix-up, but
right. The thing I was alluding.
That's a scary team right now.
It is, but actually there's some news about that because I think McCaffrey might still be injured, so he might not be coming back this week. Zeke has.
They didn't need him to put 170 points on the board.
No, but I mean, he doesn't have a team like Mike where it's like a large bench, right, of decent players to come in, and I don't know. We'll get into that in a second.
Did he put up 179 with no McCaffrey?
Right. I'm just saying I think it's tough to do that 2 weeks in a row without your best players, and I just don't think he had the bench like Mike does. But the thing I was trying to allude to earlier was the thing that Shook Justin sent this morning. About the IR spots. So so there's controversy and drama and conflict late in the season. First off, why did we never have IR spots in the first place? I know when we switched over to ESPN, I'm sure we just forgot it, but how did we forget to just
because it's not a dynasty league. It's not a dynasty league, so why hold on to somebody that's out for the rest of the season, right?
Well, I look back into this, and I think it was 2012, 2013 when we were on some of the other programs or apps. We had an IR spot, so it's not like we've never heard of it or never played with it before. So anyway, I feel bad we never established this early on, and I wish ESPN was just better about how it can ensure that you're not kind of gaming the system with the IR spot. And I guess I'm going to admit it right now. I noticed early on, if you have a player that's declared out, you could throw him in the IR spot, and that opens up a bench spot. And the way I look at it is like, I'm not the only one that would take advantage of this. Everyone can. And I'm not going to complain if someone does it. If that happens to your team, fine. That's just how it is. But
what else is he saying on there? I see he's.
Why does he say they're not permissible to be not permissible to be on IR when the app clearly lets you stick them on IR?
So here's how it works. If a guy goes on IR and then and you put him in that IR spot, and later on he's okay, it's not going to automatically move a guy from IR back to your active roster because you might have filled that empty roster spot on your bench with a new player since a guy went on IR, right? It's going to make you make that decision.
Yep.
Now, the problem though is that, or not the problem, that the counterbalance to that is that if you have a player that goes on IR and you fill the bench spot with a new guy to replace him, right? And then the guy on IR is taken off of IR or is questionable or is healthy or whatever, it will not allow you to make any other roster-related transactions from the waiver wire until you take that guy out of the IR spots. In other words, your roster is then frozen as is, and you cannot make any modifications in terms of waivers or trades until you get the IR situation fixed. You take the guy that's healthy off the IR list, you put them on your bench. Okay,
that's only those types of transactions.
It is a punishment, and that's fair.
That's only those type of transactions. Like you could still set your lineup and move in a wide receiver, running back to set your lineup and keep that IR guy in there. That's what was messed up about this whole thing all season, and I guess how they've always had it with ESPN.
It is. It's an ESPN thing. And the thing is that it is, yeah, you can still like set your lineup and everything. You just can't change players that are on your roster if you have a healthy guy in the IR spot. Okay.
So
And that can only happen if they come off of IR. Yeah.
So I have a question then. So
Yeah.
he said in his post, he says that those three players are not permissible to IR, not permissible according to the league's constitution. Because I don't remember there being a rule about that.
There's nothing in the Constitution.
It's the ESPN designation of whether or not they're on IR. Okay. So at some point in time, if you're looking at Gus's screen there, it says Chris Hogan, for example, right there, the big one. Chris Hogan at some point was on the IR list. He was added. I don't know. Maybe not. But he was designated as IR. So whoever's team that is, they put them on their IR spot, opening up a bench spot, which they then use to pick up another player. Now, since then, Chris Hogan has come off of IR and he's now eligible to be back on the roster, but they haven't moved it. So the circumstance right now is that team cannot go to the waiver wire and pick up anybody at all until they move Chris Hogan out. Now look at that a little bit closer. Chris Hogan is also a free agent. So this
a real free agent.
Yeah, so right now looking at this, whoever's lineup this is, whoever's roster this is, they're screwing themselves because they can't pick up anybody. They can't pick up anybody because they've got this IR thing. So again, it's a punishment. Until you fix that, they're in trouble. They can't do anything about it. Now
So
the other players, maybe,
I don't understand his problem then.
well, he's looking at it as, I don't know, I can't speak for him, okay? I get where he's coming from. He's really, the core of it is stashing players. That's the problem. He doesn't want to see people stashing players using the IR spot. I don't believe people are doing that intentionally or with some kind of thought process of this is an opportunity for me to circumvent the rules or get one up on anybody. I honestly think it's just kind of like, well, I don't have to make any transactions. I got my roster set, so I'm not going to mess with it at all. You still can't put those players in. It's not like you can move that IR guy to the starting lineup even. You're still going to have to cut a bench spot just to create a spot for them.
Right.
So
how does that affect keepers? If you end the season,
no impact on keepers.
If you end the season with a guy on IR, is he still on your roster?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would treat that as he was on your roster. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to worry about the two that are on mine.
But when this whole IR thing came up, it was because the NFL was experiencing all these COVID-related non-starts and stuff, and they created this IR thing to allow for people to put people that are designated as COVID in an IR slot, and we never had it before. So if you had somebody that was hurt, then it was up to you to keep them on your bench or get rid of them and pick up somebody else.
Right.
So are we still going to have an IR next year? And if we are, then the reasons for it are not going to be COVID related. It's going to be to stash players.
It would be, I want to have an IR spot next year. I meant to do it at the draft this year, but just so many things were happening at the time. We got the two little kids. It's just tough to do all that. And I just forgot to bring it up and didn't have it written down. So next year I would say one IR spot for every team makes sense. Like you're going to have a star player like a Joe Burrow go down. You might still want to keep him as a possible keeper next year. And he could be stashed for the rest of the season. It should be for any team. This year we did the two because we didn't know how bad COVID was going to get. And it turned into this real, like, you're on the COVID IR list for up to 3 weeks and real IRs are still 3 weeks too or something. So ESPN normally wouldn't have allowed us to open the IR spot up during the season, but just week 3 or 4, whenever it happened, they allowed it. So I just made the decision. We're doing this for the whole league. It just came down to, if you understood how to use the IR spot in other ways, which I hate saying that, but that's what I figured out you could do. And Jeff, you said you don't think anyone meant to, or you don't think I don't know what exactly you said, but
well, I think a key point in all that is that if you have IR slots and then you want to put that IR slot back to your bench or on an active roster, you have to drop somebody because presumably you already have a full roster. So,
hey Gus, bring up my roster there. I'll show you something.
Yeah, keep going with that. What were you going to say?
So go down there and show the bench there. Scroll on down. All right, you see there? I got Breeze and I got Kittle on IR. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am absolutely stashing Kittle. That is absolutely a player stash in the way that Jeff described.
Absolutely.
That's fine.
That's okay though, right?
Yeah, I mean, we opened it up this year, and I'm not going to police this thing to say, oh, it was only for COVID-related IR. I'm not doing that. It's too late at this point.
Oh,
it just turned into a regular IR, so that's what it is.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Gus. I would, and if it's put up to a league vote, I would vote to have the IR spot too, because I think it's a killer that we have a short bench, really, as it is right now. And the player pool is thin. If Gumby, you lost George Kittle, but you had to stash that player on your active roster, your bench, it's like a double punishment. Mm-hmm. Like, I got to keep him because I need him for next year, but I don't have a bench spot to pick up somebody else unless I cut some other player that may have value to me just to fill in for Kittle. I think that's like an extra bit of punishment that you shouldn't have to go through. It's not your fault. And, if you were to cut George Kittle, somebody who sucks is almost certainly going to pick them up and say, guess what? I'm keeping him now. Even though my team is terrible, I got Kittle for next year. That doesn't make any sense.
In past years, without an IR, if you have George Kittle, you're not going to drop him. You're going to let him stay on your bench as an inactive player and keep him until next year. So the IR designation came in and it kind of resolved that so you can replace him with somebody else. And if we have an IR slot next year, that's what it's going to be used for because COVID presumably won't be around. The other thing I was saying about that is that when you move a person from IR to your roster, you have to sacrifice somebody. You have to open up a slot for it. And that's what I was saying. So the IR slot.
How many points did those three guys score this week? Anything?
Well,
hold on, Gumby. Keep going with that. What were you saying, Dad?
No, I'm saying that the IR position didn't really give anybody an advantage because number one, they're not on your active roster. Number two, if you want to put them on an active roster, you're gonna have to drop somebody to put them back on. And if he's out for the year, great, you got him saved for next year if that's what you want to do. I don't have a problem with that.
I kind of disagree with that, Dad. I think you can get an advantage with the IR spot, just how ESPN allows certain things. I mean, I guess I'm just going to show it right now, and I'm admitting to it because I just figured it out. I figured everyone else saw it. I have Alexander Madison on the IR right now because he was declared out last week. I think he's actually projected for points this week at 2.9, and he might be taken off of this out status by the beginning of the week. The truth is, I was not thinking I was going to move him at all because I'm fine with the rest of my roster. I guess that means I'm cheating, but I just figured, hey, everyone else has the same ability to do something like this. So I wasn't going to police it. I'm not policing everybody else. If you want to call it out on me, then that's what I was saying in the end. You know what? If you want to call it out, by all means, say it. Point to me, and I'll make a fix because, yeah, you're right. I guess that is not the way it probably should have been intended. But I just figured everyone else has the same opportunity as I do.
All right. So, but the advantage that you're getting, if in fact there is any, because honestly, I'm looking at it and go, well, what difference does it make? I mean, you're not going to start Alexander Madison. And if you decide to start him, let's say you get past this week and and Cook is not going to play. Well, now you got to cut somebody if you're going to start him. So you're going to have to lose one of those other guys that you got out there, whoever it may be. And a lot of them, from looking at it, are guys that might be good for keepers next year or might help you right now. So you're going to have to pay for it sooner or later, one way or the other. You're not getting something for nothing here, I guess.
Right. I'm just trying to show like how you can get an advantage with the IR spot, depending on how you've seen the previous week or the current week develop. So Madison was declared out. I threw him in there. I was able to pick up, I think it was Cam Akers, but I can't remember. And I have my bench. I've got options now. And if he ever got declared back in and I needed to change roster again or a free agent waiver wire, I would have to go through the whole process of cutting somebody, throwing them back in, like you said. But I'm pretty fine with my roster. I don't think I'm going to touch it unless someone's calling me out on it. Should I
In
change it?
reality-
I guess that's the thing right now. Should I be changing this? Because I get the spirit of the league argument, but I feel like then I have to police it, because if you're calling me out on it, I want to call everyone else out on it too that might take advantage.
No, I don't think anybody is. I don't think you need to do that. It's not our fault that ESPN has it set up this way. We didn't write the programming. We're not sitting on the teams that are writing the code. It is what it is. We didn't. I mean, if you want to blame anybody, we blame ourselves for not doing all the research on how the IR spot works. But I highly doubt anybody would have read that and then go, okay, how can I game the system now? It just happens. And
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, I don't think you should have to police it any more than that. It's the programming. That's how it's written. Not our fault, not our responsibility. If we want to change sites to something that takes care of this issue, we can look at that. But as you highlighted right there, I don't think that there's any punishment, because just the example you just gave, Gus, if you decided you were going to put Madison on your bench and pick somebody else up, you're actually dropping 2 people to make that transaction. One to get Madison off of your IR, and then dropping somebody else to pick up another guy off the waiver wire. So that's your payment. If you wanted to stash a guy, guess what? It's going to cost you 2 players down the road.
To Justin's point, though, Chris Hogan is a free agent. He wasn't going to score any points anyway, right? He got 0 points, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Did David Johnson or Alan Lazard score any points this week?
David Johnson came back from injury last week, so he actually
0.1 point.
No. This is something else completely. Last week, here I'll go to the thing, but he had a decent game last week. I think it was like 10 points. Let's see, it was round 1, and it was this game. So David Johnson had 10.4 points. So the way I tried to explain this one was this. Ross was not going to drop David Johnson. If anything, he would have thrown him in the bench if called out on it, and probably dropped a Gus Edwards or somebody else who had a terrible projection going into the league. Edwards was only 4.4 projection. That's how I would have done it. I'm sure Ross would have done something similar if called out on it. And I don't know. That's the thing. I think Ross understands the same thing I'm trying to say, which is you have a way to kind of, maybe you just don't pay attention and you're like, I'm fine with my roster. I didn't need to make any moves. So I didn't.
He could have just as easily dropped the Arizona defense and nobody's going to pick that up.
That's true. He had 2 defenses last week. I mean,
so
who knows what he would have done, but
I don't think that Justin's argument really holds a lot of weight.
Well, I mean, he's fine to call people out and kind of bring it to the forefront, but the whole idea of like should be asked to forfeit their previously played matchups and or upcoming matchups, no, it's not going to happen.
That's
sorry. Plus, I don't even know how we would even go about doing that if
it would not have changed any outcomes.
I just hope, Justin, you're a long time, not you, Gumby, but Shook, you're a long time member of the league. This past week, I actually started working on like playoff head-to-head matchups and the history of the league. And man, you've got so many of them out there. Like you put your roots in there. So I hope this doesn't cause you to go over the edge and like, oh, fuck this league. So.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think that would be the case, but besides which, he's already paid up his dues for next year, right? Since I'm getting picks from him, something like that.
I think so. I forget who. I know Scholl is one of them. I haven't heard from. I think Stout is another one, and there might be another. I can't remember.
Well, David's a fantasy football junkie, so we know he's in.
He should be.
He'll want to participate and improve as usual, but.
He commented almost right away. Drop Lazard, not forfeiting anything. I was like, all right, I'm with you there. You're not having to change anything. We're not blowing up the league from this. So, all right. Anything else before we get into the games, or
how much did he lose by?
Who?
Shook.
He lost. Well, I made a move on Tuesday where I put in Mike Davis instead of J.K. Dobbins. I was up 13 points. I just wanted to avoid the possibility of J.K. Dobbins having to go under center and throw 3 picks, 4 fumbles.
Shook lost by 12, 13 points.
Yeah, I basically just put in a bye week player to ensure I get a 0 instead of a negative
Right.
number.
Right.
So
So-
Shook lost by 13 points last week in the
And
playoffs.
his team kind of laid an egg from the wide receiver 2 position through tight end.
So what he would not have had a huge swing. Even if he got any of those players, it wouldn't have been enough to win.
He,
No, I mean, look at it.
Well,
He
Gus,
set his
Gus,
best
you
lineup.
had J.K. Dobbins in. If you kept Dobbins in, he'd have got another 13 points, 18. What is that?
yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is I had the potential for 158 by the end of the week. I decided to play it safe. I just said, I don't want negative points. I'm putting in 0, and he had nothing left. So
No, that's rare when that happens, but you did good there. But he set his optimal lineup. That he couldn't have done any better than the players he put in if you look at his bench versus his starters. So there wasn't any more points to come. And I bet if you took the best player who was on the IR list that quote unquote shouldn't have been and put that person on his team, he still would have lost.
He still loses.
I'm willing to bet that because he had so much ground to cover.
it's true.
So
He would have still lost. But Shook had a much better argument for changing anything up in the playoffs this year when it came down to bye weeks. Week 13.
Yes.
I actually thought about posting something before the first set of games for week 13 to say, look, do you guys want to do just a league bye week so that everyone is full strength? But in the end, I thought, look, we should have said this much earlier or brought it up earlier. Can't do it the week of. And plus I benefited from it, unfortunately, but yeah.
Well, not only that, but this is a weird season full of COVID weirdness and schedule changes. And as a fantasy football manager, you've got to be able to adjust and adapt. That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have games canceled. We didn't have weeks canceled.
I'll
Right.
throw this out there. I'll throw this out there next year. If there's a week 13 bye week and we still have this 12-week schedule, I'm all in favor of week 13 as a league bye week. So week 14, you start fresh again. As long as we all agree to it before the season starts, it's just, that's what it is.
Well, that's one way to get rid of the bye week issue, but
Yeah, I'd say put that on the list of things that we should bring up as a vote because I like it. I don't remember there ever being a week 13 bye week. And I think David Stout pointed out to me last week or the week before that this wasn't like a change in the middle of the season. It was set up as a week 13 bye since before the season started. So this wasn't a new thing. It wasn't a shock. It wasn't, something that we didn't know going into the draft.
So if that's the case, then the real answer is draft some depth.
Yeah, as it says right there, this is the first time since 2002. It's rare, but if it does happen, I agree. Yeah.
It says it's 2016 had week 13 buys, Browns and Titans. But still, back then, 2016, we had 13-week seasons, so that didn't affect the playoffs.
Yeah, we wouldn't have even noted it. Okay.
Yeah.
I think part of it is not part of it. I don't want to put any words in his mouth or anything like that, but I did make a trade with him for 2 players that ended up being on a bye week in week 13. And I'm being dead serious. And guys, I don't ever want to take advantage of anybody in a trade. I didn't realize that when I made that trade with him that Brady and Evans were going to be on a week 13 bye. I didn't know that. I knew McCaffrey was, and that to me, that was like the centerpiece of my whole team. And I knew trading him meant that whatever team got him was going to have trouble the first week of the playoffs. I didn't realize that with Brady and Evans, and it turned out to be that way. So I think part of it is I feel kind of bad about that. And I may go back to him and say, look, I'm willing to renegotiate the terms of that trade to make it right, because I honestly wasn't trying to screw him over. You guys know this in the podcast. I kept saying, Shook is my favorite to win the whole thing because I thought he had the best draft considering, pound for pound, he had the best draft. He got screwed because of injuries. And it just didn't work out. So, I mean, unless people have a serious complaint, it's really only between 2 owners, and I'm the one getting screwed if I renegotiate and make it a better deal for him. And I hope nobody else would complain about that, but just feeling like
Can I just
I'm contributing to his frustration, and I didn't mean to do that at all.
I just want to throw it out there. I mean, I thought my team just did so good, like it wouldn't have mattered. Like I hit pretty much everywhere I needed to, and the only part that sucked was Jacoby Myers, which I initially had Crowder in like 5 minutes before the game. It would have been even worse for him. So and I had Dobbins in. I had a 160-point week basically. So, I mean, I don't think you have to do anything, Jeff. That's all I'm trying to get at. Like he might have just run in. I'm not calling myself a buzzsaw, but you know, it felt like that kind of week. I finally had a good week in the playoffs. Although, yeah, with Tom Brady, it could have been different. But look who his quarterback was. It was Baker Mayfield, 56 points. I doubt Brady was going to do any better than that. The only difference is maybe Aguilar 7.8. Who knows? But
Good point.
all right. Anything else before we put that to bed?
No, let's move on.
All right. Let's go to week.
I would just, if you don't mind, I would just say if we are going to keep an IR in there, then we have to add something in the Constitution to kind of make it clear. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna have to think about that too.
Okay.
I think we will.
Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah. Real quick. So last week we had 4 people picking. Dad, you and I both went 4-4, and
Really?
Jeff and Gumby went 6-2. The Jeff's only loss was M Team. I'm sorry, M Team and Beer Guzzlers. And Gumby, your only losses were Napalm, Jockstrap, and M Team. So you picked all the main winners for the main playoffs. So
That's my best week ever.
it's a good start. All right, so first game up, I've got Savages versus my team.
Do we want to do the consolation bracket first, or do we want to?
You're right. Let's get those 2 games out of the way.
Okay.
So let's see. I think it's just going to be Puppies of Purgatory versus Touch Me Down. So Jeff, first off, congrats to you on. I don't know if it was an upset because it was Ramones. I think we had a feeling he might not care about his lineup, and I think that might have happened actually, right?
I think so. Yeah. We left in some guys that were not playing, if I remember correctly.
Is that what he did? I think he had James Conner in maybe.
I believe so.
He had 2. Yeah, he had 2 of them.
Yeah, he scored 66.
He left James Conner in, Will Fuller. So I guess it wasn't going to improve much. He didn't do anything with his lineup, but still, you won. Good
Will
job.
Fuller's suspended for the rest of the year, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So, I saw
Being a
those 2.
dumbass.
Saw those 2 and thought, oh, he's not paying attention or whatever. But
Jeff, I mean, more than almost 60% of your points were Derek Carr. That's pretty funny.
Well, he is Derek Carr and a bunch of other dudes.
Yeah, just some guys, some Jags.
Hey, James Washington had me 16 though, so
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
week there.
Going to be a tougher matchup this week against Touch Me Down. Let's see. He's putting in Ferkser for Tennessee, tight end. I have no idea who that is, but I guess it's because Jonnu Smith's injured, so he's just going to play whichever tight end.
There's a good chance you get beat by Mitch Trubisky this week.
Bullshit. I ain't losing to Mitchell Trubisky.
I think there's a good chance you lose to Mitchell Trubisky this week. There's some irony to that. That's kind of funny.
That feels terrible. Look at his ranking. He's the worst quarterback in football.
32.
That's not fair. He didn't play for like 6 weeks, so of course he's going to be low.
All right, so
He might have been 25 if he played those 6 weeks.
He might have been lower.
He
Maybe.
might have been 35,
If he'd have played more weeks, he might have been lower. That guy can throw interceptions like nobody else.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston is the only quarterback who's better at throwing interceptions than Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah.
But at least Jameis
Winston
will throw touchdowns
yes.
and yards with
That's
that.
right.
Yes.
What happened with Foles? What are they doing?
He got broken.
Foles sucked as well.
He was bad, but then he got did you see that play?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That looked like dang near a career ender.
Yeah, I can see it in my head too. Like they bent him backwards. He fell on his back and they kind of brought his legs up over his head. I forgot about that. Ugh.
Nice.
Yeah. He has a great lineup. I mean, Dave Montgomery's been so good the last couple weeks. Dad, I don't know how that makes you feel. I know you used to have that guy for a year or two. Right?
Yeah, I didn't like him.
He's good now. 27, 25, so 2 weeks in a row.
Ooh.
Right.
He's had some good games. He's someone to look out for next year. I have a feeling. Something about that Bears team. Not with Mitchell Trubisky, but just something about him. Yeah, Jeff, I don't know, man. Your running backs. Miles Sanders, at least, is still around, but his projection keeps going down every week. The team is just terrible, the Eagles. You're riding 2 tight ends, one in the flex.
Rare double tight end formation.
Yeah.
Thomas had a good game last week. I don't know how many points he got, but he had to get a lot.
Could you put a kicker in the flex?
No,
I feel like you should put in Lutz if you could, but
I probably would.
Why are you carrying 2 kickers?
I don't know, Gumby. I don't know why I do half of the things I do. I don't know.
keeper options.
Why
You
do
could
I have
put Justin-
James Dills on my roster? Like,
You can put Jackson down in IR and, I mean,
he is on
Yeah.
IR.
oh, why does he show up there then? That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's,
I'm gonna pick touch me down on this one. Sorry, Jeff. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that touch me down wins this one pretty easily also.
Yeah, I have to go there too. Sorry, Jeff.
No worry, no need to apologize.
Jeff, you're picking yourself.
Hell yeah, I'm picking myself.
Strong play.
Thank you, Gumby.
I like it. It's good to
Well,
have
you're
confidence.
in the running for that $50.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
That basically goes toward next year's dues. That's how I've always seen it the last couple of years. So, all right, Smuffs versus Shamers. I was happy to see the Smuffs get a win last week. They had a rough season, and I don't think they're as bad as your team, Jeff, because you having to roll out Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland most weeks. That was rough. But I mean, he has to roll out Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay most weeks. But I at least like those 2 guys. Yeah, Shamers, I guess he's projected a little bit more. Miles Gaskin apparently is a decent option projection-wise, 13.6 this week, so he could throw him in and improve his projection.
I'll tell you what, watch out for Shamers next year because he'll have Mostert as a keeper and Justin Jefferson right off the bat before he walks into the draft. And that's going to be pretty salty, that little combo right before we even get started picking players. So just keep an eye open for him.
You think
Well,
Mostert?
Is
Really?
Mostert keeper eligible?
Yeah, it was.
You sure?
I know Jefferson's a good one.
Maybe he was a keeper. I don't know.
Jefferson's clearly a keeper. Yeah,
Yeah.
like he's number 7th overall in wide receivers. That's great.
Yeah.
That was a good pickup.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe Mostert. And you probably got a good point. He'll compete, hopefully. We'll see. I know last week the Smuffs had Tim Patrick had a good game. I saw he had like 20 points, 20.4 out of nowhere. I don't know who that guy is, but good for him. It's better than that Kendall Hinton guy that came in and played quarterback for the Broncos.
Well, the Denver players that he has will probably score more points now that they're allowed to start a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take Shamers and be done with it.
Yep, I agree, Shamers.
Dad?
Yeah, I'll agree.
I'll go for Jason. Why not? I'll try and change it up a little bit. See what happens. All right, so now it's down to the 2 main games of the week.
No, you didn't do Scabs Bolton.
Yeah, but those games were done. They lost, so they don't mean anything for the consolation bracket.
Oh,
I don't care about
okay.
those.
Oh, okay. All right.
Savages versus Dynasty. Currently, Savages is a big favorite, but like I said,
That's
I
a
think
lot of red.
Zeke
Yeah,
and
it is.
Christian McCaffrey are questionable. Yeah, the thing is, I hate saying this, but I am actually hoping McCaffrey sits 1 more week. I just need 1 more week. I would love to see Mike Davis come back in. I might replace J.K. Dobbins with Davis if that's the case. And then it should just bring us to a flip 'em or a coin flip. So I love the matchup of
I
our
got-
quarterbacks, though.
I'm gonna
Mahomes
pick-
versus Allen.
I'm going to pick the dynasty because there's no way that Ezekiel Elliott scores 14.9 points. That is simply not happening.
What did he do
on
last night?
Tuesday? What did he do on Tuesday?
He had an okay game, not great.
That's a shit game for
Yeah.
him. That's just he started so strong, and this is running back 2 territory.
Exactly. He
But
gets
has
a good
Christian
game every now
McCaffrey,
and then.
So.
Well, they're playing Cincinnati. I don't know. If he don't fumble the ball, he might put some
Yeah.
numbers out there.
Who can tell?
That's
I don't think he's worth 14 points in that game.
I want to check what Cincinnati's run defense is looking like these days. So hold on 1 second.
I want to check Reddit and see if there's any news on certain players. Practices started, and Christian McCaffrey, who tweaked a quad last week and yesterday, is not out here.
How about that?
All right, so the Bengals are a bad defense against the run. They're ranked. What they're like bottom 5 in yards per carry, which is not good. They have given up 16 rushing touchdowns, which is tied for whatever 4th worst in the league.
And I'm willing to bet you right now that all of those yardage and stuff this week goes to one Tony Pollard and not Zeke.
I'm sorry, no, they've only given up 9 touchdowns. Yeah, that's a weird thing too, Gumby. Like all of the carries of significance are not going to your whatever $80 million running
90.
back.
90 million.
I don't understand. I just don't like on 4th, like you mentioned last week, on 4th down, you give the ball to the guy who's making $90 million to pick up a yard, not some weird ass flip reverse thing.
They got cute on every 4th and short that they went for. They decided to do cutesy little plays that were going to trick the other team. These are NFL players. You don't trick them.
No, and if you're getting paid $90 million, you go get 3 feet.
Yeah.
Go get it.
Yep.
Whatever it takes. He's not getting any of those like highly leveraged type situations where you need your running back to take over a game. It's so weird. I just don't.
Pollard has looked like the better back all season to me.
That's a problem.
I think they should trade Zeke or cut him. Get rid of that cap hit.
On Savage's roster, he's got all those questionables, and what is it? 2, 4 questionables. McCaffrey's probably not going to play. So who's his backups for that?
So if McCaffrey doesn't play, he has Darrell Henderson, Damian Harris, DeAndre Swift. I was just looking at Swift, and he's missed the last 2 weeks, I guess.
Right.
Or 3 weeks. Yeah, I guess we're getting into week 14. But it's something about he's had an illness, non-COVID related. So.
Oh, the herp.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson had a pretty good game in his absence, didn't he?
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
Oh yeah.
2 touchdowns.
Honestly, if I were the Lions, I would sit out DeAndre Swift for the rest of the season just because, like, he's of value. Okay, here's an old name for you. Remember this guy? Javid Best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Remember him? He had so much potential for the Lions. Like, that's who this DeAndre Swift reminds me of. And he had his season or his career cut short because of head injuries and shit like that. Don't risk it, man. It's not your season. Try next year. No bias whatsoever.
He's done enough to prove that he belongs. I would agree with that.
Yep. So I don't think he would be able to play Swift. I think he'd have to play Harris or Darrell Henderson, which, I mean, you're taking off maybe 10, 13 points. Like I said, it gets back to like a coin flip.
Is McLaren, is that a problem with him, or is it just he's taking a rest?
I bet he's playing. He played against the Steelers. It wasn't any good, but
Right, but
I think he's playing. I have no reason to doubt.
okay, all right.
So. Oh fuck! I'm gonna go back to picking the other team. That strategy worked for me at the beginning of the season. So
This is not the time to do that.
I know. I don't care. I mean, I'm glad I just won a playoff game. How about
You
that?
got Mahomes and Kelsey. They're worth 60, 70, 80 points by themselves. McKissick had a good game. I don't know if that's going to hold up again.
Who's
Oh no,
McKissick?
that was Dobbins. That was Dobbins. I'm sorry.
Wayne Gallman's the one who's had okay games.
Yeah, well, that was a good pickup. I had him, dropped him, you picked him up. He's giving you points.
Yeah.
What else was on there? Tyler Boyd's okay.
Jamison Crowder finally had another good game, 21.7, but he was on my bench.
Yeah, you hope he doesn't come with a 6.1 next week.
Marvin Jones has been great. I guess 2 weeks before wasn't too good, but I've always been happy.
It's been pretty consistent for a few weeks, though.
Yeah, there's another one that pisses me off because, I think I had him at one time too, but yeah, anyway.
I look at this game, this matchup is he has a one player advantage at running back because I think Gallman counteracts Zeke, and if McCaffrey plays, then he counteracts and then some Dobbins. I think the wide receivers are kind of a push. I think the tight ends are obviously a push, but I think that at the flex is probably a push as well. So it comes down to those running backs and how much more of an advantage McCaffrey is over Dobbins versus how much of an advantage Mahomes is over Josh Allen. I think that's the key there. Everything else looks like it's really, really well. It's really even. So can Mahomes score more than Allen? Then McCaffrey scores more than J.K. Dobbins, if that makes sense.
Look at the defenses.
Look at the defenses. Miami's not bad either. But they're not the Steelers defense, so.
Yeah.
It's Mahomes. I think he's matchup proof no matter what, and he could go off on anybody.
I'll take Gus. I'll take the dynasty.
In the upset?
Oh, in a mild upset.
Gumby, what do you think?
Dynasty. I don't think McCaffrey plays, and I don't trust Zeke with anything.
That's my feeling too. I really don't think McCaffrey plays, but I'm still just picking the other side.
I'm going to go dynasty as well, so that if Gus wins next week, we can talk about how we all picked him to win, and he's the only one who didn't pick himself.
Confidence.
Fair enough. All right. The Goliad championship game. Wow, you guys are close. I kind of thought Whip was going to have a bigger advantage.
I have smack talk.
Oh,
here it comes.
Here we go.
Michael and I talked yesterday, and then he texted me during this podcast to add a little bit more. So he says, from Michael, and I quote, enjoy Hawaii since you'll be coaching the Pro Bowl. Don't get caught eating a hot dog at halftime. Also, don't forget to knock the dust off your golf clubs. It's going to be an early golf season for the Gumster. End quote.
I'm picking me.
It's worked most of the time, Gumby.
It has. As for serious analysis, what's all right? Kyler Murray, Rodgers.
Dang. So Giovanni Bernard, Gumby. I know he's starting this week. They're sitting Mixon out again.
I know. And I'm thinking about starting him because he's against the Dallas defense that lets everybody run crazy.
Man, fuck Gio. Look at these last 4 weeks. God, I keep thinking he's at least had 10 points most of the time.
He's not. Every time I start him, it's like one of those.
He had those 2 weeks of 20 points up there. And
I can't believe they keep putting him as like a 12-point projection every single week.
yeah,
I don't trust
that
him.
would piss me off. Like
I wouldn't trust it either. The Cincinnati.
You talked about the Cowboys getting fancy and all that. I would say don't get fancy with your lineup.
Exactly.
Don't overthink this. Play the best that you got out there. Don't be thinking you're going to steal some points.
I think CEH is fine now. He's healed up, I think.
Yeah, full participant, so that's good.
He got 0 points last week, but that's okay because he was on my bench getting those 0 points.
Yeah, was he ever declared out?
No, he wasn't declared out. ill.
I was waiting to hear about that because I would have swapped out, Edmonds and put Le'Veon Bell in, but I never heard anything about it. And by the time that game come, the other game was already over. But if they had said, at 12 o'clock, Hilaire's not going to play, I'd have put Bell in over Edmonds. But
I had CEH on the bench last week, so I feel this is the right lineup at this point in time.
God, Stephon Diggs has been great this year. This is his best year ever.
He might be a keeper for me to come in next year. He's like in keeper land.
Did you keep him or draft him in the first or second round?
I drafted him in like the 5th round.
Really?
There's no way you picked him in the second.
Did I pick him in the second? I don't think. Second round. I got.
I got a.
No, there's no way you did. There's no way you did.
No, I've got him like the 5th, I think.
I gotta see this. Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, 5th round.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he might be a keeper for me.
That's good.
White.
Yeah. Nothing's definite.
Wait, you kept Calvin Ridley, right? Before?
Yeah, I kept Calvin Ridley he cost me a second last time.
Let's see.
You walk in with your wide receivers filled.
All right, so AJ Green goes away. That was a waste. So Calvin Ridley can be a second maybe next year, and then Stephon Diggs is a 4th. That's pretty good.
Of course, you're gonna be drafting late in the 1st, which means running backs are gonna be an issue. But you don't have.
I'm not drafting in the 1st at all.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I'm not drafting in the 1st or the 3rd.
Uh-oh.
You gotta wonder why you'd even keep. Why would you even keep? Calvin Ridley then? Just
because I'm either gonna keep Ridley or Kittle.
Both
of
them. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Both of them cost me a 2nd round to keep. I don't have a 3rd round to keep anyway, so both of them cost me a 2nd rounder to keep.
Yeah.
You got Antonio Brown there.
Yeah, I got Antonio Brown too, but I don't think he's necessarily keeper worthy yet.
He'd have to finish strong this year to be keeper eligible.
Yeah.
Like Super Bowl MVP strong.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to ask you guys real quick. So this is an 11-1 matchup versus 11-1. In your knowledge of NFL history, what does this game remind you of?
It's kind of like those
49ers Cowboys from back in the day.
49ers from way back, it's 49ers Cowboys. From fantasy football, from a little closer than that, it was like when the Steelers and Patriots were both really good in the AFC.
I would say Colts and Patriots. I never felt like we were up there with the Patriots.
You guys won 2 Super Bowls during the Patriots run.
Yeah, but there was always something weird in those Super Bowl years. One year, I think Denver knocked off the Patriots, and then it was the Jets. The Jets did it that one time. So
the other one, Brady blew his knee out in the week 2.
In objective analysis on this game, I think it's a bit of a coin flip, but I'm picking me. Well, I got rid of all the red this week. Finally, I had a lot of red last couple of weeks.
I think I see where this game is going to go. Kyler Murray's been trashed the last couple of weeks. 16.1, 29.8. He shouldn't have got that last touchdown he got against the Rams this past week. That killed Jess. But anyway, shouldn't have happened.
What's going on with Tyreek Hill? Why's he got a Q?
Illness.
Oh, he's fine.
Diarrhea. I think Whip's in trouble. I don't think Kyler's going to do well. I don't think Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams can go back to back to back, whatever they're at streak.
You don't? They've been doing it every week.
Not really Aaron Jones. I think, yeah. So he had 10 points, 23. I don't know. I just don't see it. I never liked that guy. I can't explain it. Devontae, I could see. He's
a beast.
Yeah, he's up there with Mahomes, matchup proof. But I don't think he's going to have a 35-point game. That's what I'm trying to say.
What's going on with Michael? Okay, go ahead.
Well, okay, Tyreek had 15 points. I could see him getting at least that. Michael Thomas has been, decent enough. 19. In between games aren't so good.
Yeah, it's that quarterback situation with them.
Yeah, I'm picking Gumby. I don't know. I think he's got the rubber match.
Well, either way, this has been one of the more fun seasons. I don't remember ever having such a good team that had such a good rivalry with another really good team like this.
That includes with Jeff too, right?
Yeah. Even when back then when Jeff and I were the two good teams in that division, I don't remember it ever being quite like this.
Are you disrespecting me, Gumby?
Nope. I'm just expressing my experience.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Y'all got a really good. You've had a good rivalry season for sure.
So here's the fun thing. Since we went to a 16-team league, the second and third best records ever both happened this year in the same division. The only team that's ever had a perfect record was Rick last year.
Mhm.
So we're tied for the second and third. Well, we're really tied for the second best season. Both of us are, and it happened in the exact same division in the exact same year. So that's that's been pretty fun. I've enjoyed the competition.
That's awesome. I think this is going to be a tough one. I look at the. My question is: does Whip's wide receivers, are they so overwhelmingly good that they can plug all the other potential gaps that could, open up on his team? Like Kyler Murray and Kenyon Drake. I just don't. I don't trust Kyler Murray either. I don't really think Kenyon Drake brings a whole lot to the table, but he gets a lot of volume, so that's good. I do like Aaron Jones, though. I think he's a good player. That's tough because those two wide receivers really are carrying him. I mean,
Yeah.
And if they do well, and the other players just play at their average, it's really tough to beat. Who's got more away games? You know what? Yeah, I'm taking Gumby too.
Look at the
Gumby.
defenses. Look who they're playing.
Well, okay. I mean, the Steelers' defense against Buffalo, that's tough. I mean, I think Josh Allen, it's in Buffalo. I think it's going to be a good game there. But Ravens at Cleveland, I don't know. Maybe Baker and that team, they've turned the corner, as they say.
Yeah, they may throw a bunch of points up there against the Ravens.
Do we have some head-to-heads? Like I see Stephon versus Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Diggs
Right.
versus Pittsburgh. That's about it, I think.
Aaron Rodgers against Detroit, he's going to eat them up. Dalvin Cook against Tampa Bay, they got a pretty good defense, but Cook is almost match-proof too.
I kind of consider Cook to be a matchup-proof player. I mean, I'm not going to start somebody else instead of him. Doesn't matter who they're playing.
Ridley against the Chargers.
Ridley's kind of matchup-proof too.
You got a good point, Gumby. If Diggs scores a touchdown on Pittsburgh, that's almost like a bonus 4-point swing for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good point. I'm taking you to win it because you have less players that are going on the road by one. That's it. Just thinking maybe that affects the other teams a little bit.
Spread's 4.5. That's a close game in fantasy football.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Up in the 150s like that. What about you, Dad? Who would you pick?
This is a tough one. I should take the team that beat me last week just because they beat me. But if Kyler Murray doesn't have a good game, they're probably going to lose. He's got both Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams. So if Rodgers throws any touchdowns to them, it kind of nullifies what Rodgers is doing. Tyreek Hill, he can go off for sure. I'm not crazy about Hunter Henry. And who do you have? Gronkowski?
That feels like a push.
Gronk's been kind of hard to predict. When he's good, he's very good. When he's not, he's not. He's kind of a roller coaster.
Boy, that's going to be a tough one. That even the point spread on this is pretty close right now. Well, I'll call this the rubber match between the two of you. You won the first one. He won the second one. I'm going to go ahead and take Ballzilla here.
Wow.
A sweep?
Everyone here is picking Ballzilla.
Gumby, I have to ask you, if you win a championship.
Wait, I'm changing my mind. I'm taking Whip.
What?
I'm taking Whip.
He doesn't want to be with the crowd. It's all good.
Right. I got to gain one here.
Win a championship, Gumby, are you going to be sending us, Facebook messages about flipping us off. And
The reign of terror will resume.
almost
Mike
makes me
won't.
want to switch my pick.
Mike won't be any less. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
Mike's never won one, has he?
No,
No.
and that's
Not an
another
old
reason.
whip or new.
That's
Not old
another
whip or
reason
new
I'm
whip.
picking him.
So
Yeah,
Okay,
Whip has never
Let
won.
me change my pick. I want to change my pick, Gus. This is so hard. Give me Whip to win his first championship after he wins this one. And also so Gumby can't gloat.
Wow, Jeff, you're just already saying, are you basically saying the winner of this game is winning the championship?
I mean, I'm an outsider, so it shouldn't have any impact. But yeah, I'm going to say whoever wins this game is going to win the championship.
So
Yeah,
this
That's
is
disrespectful to Savages and I. I mean,
yeah.
Mahomes
I'm not in the
is a
playoffs,
two-time winner. Two-time winner.
Yeah,
So-
keep that stat in mind. You know, whoever has Mahomes is winning fucking leagues, you know?
Right here. Right
how
here.
many points? Wait,
big
how many
D.
points is how many points is ahead of Rodgers? How many points is Mahomes ahead of Rodgers right now?
Well, he set the record.
Probably a lot.
I know, but how big's the gap?
I'll show you. Quarterbacks. 60 points. Wait, okay. Almost 50. 48
So he's
points.
basically one game ahead.
One game ahead.
It's pretty good.
What is that?
the
48
average is-
divided by 13
the average is
at this
only-
point, so
The
4
average is
points
only
almost.
5 points more per game. 4 points. It's only 4 points more per game average.
Yeah,
Right.
you look at the defenses they're playing. Rogers got Detroit. Detroit sucks. Mahomes got Miami, which is surprisingly better than we'd have thought they'd be this year. But I don't, you know, who can stop Mahomes, you know?
Gus, what was the worst game that Mahomes had versus the worst game that Rodgers had? Like, what's the range here?
let's see. The worst game?
What's his worst total? 26?
26. Yeah, that was that Denver game. I remember that.
How'd you
All
only
right, so
score
what's-
26 against Denver? That's weird.
That was a
Well,
weird
still,
game too, because Chad Henne
No
ended up
game.
coming in too. It was the weirdest thing. I think that was the game Chad Henne came in
All
and
right,
he
what
ran
about
it in for a touchdown.
Rodgers?
Rogers had a shit game this year. I remember I played Gumby
He
that
did.
week.
He
That
had
was
a
Tampa Bay.
9.4,
Yeah. I still lost that fucking game.
and Gus still lost.
I was so pissed. That should have been an easy win, and I lost
I
that
still
game.
won that game.
Oh my god. Yeah, so like outlier for sure, because everything else has been
Right.
basically 40-point games. That's pretty impressive. I really can't say the same for Mahomes. He's kind of been all over the place. He's had some 30-point games, right? 38. Well, okay. I guess you could say 40 as well.
Yeah, so 38,
Sounds
40
like
points as a
too.
floor. I don't know.
I gotta tell you that 70 against Baltimore is danged impressive because that's one of the better defenses.
That's what I keep thinking. Like with Miami, it's at Miami. Miami's not, pushover. So that he's going to keep me in it basically the rest of the year. Miami and New Orleans, if I'm in. Well, third place game at worst, right? Next week. So
Right.
I'm taking Whip to win his first championship. I'll put it in paper. I'll stamp it right now. He's going to win it. He's going to win it all.
if Savages wins, I think McCaffrey should be able to come back unless they're just sitting him for the rest of the year too. Like I could
Well,
see why
that's-
they would do that, but
Yeah, I think on behalf of both Mike and I, Gus, we really need you to win this week because we don't want to see that shit.
you know,
We do not want to see McCaffrey.
it's funny.
So talking about
Champions don't want to see
disrespectful-
new people win. They just want to see previous champions win, right? Gumby?
Sure, I just don't want to see McCaffrey lining up over there.
Gus, you are hearing the disrespect that they're throwing at you, right? They'd rather play you.
I
than
hear
they
it.
play-
I definitely see it differently. I want winners to keep
mean,
winning.
Look,
I
look.
don't
Here's the
want
thing:
newbies
if you
Come in
lose,
and join the club.
if you lose this week, Gus, there's a very good chance that an 11-1 team could lose to a 5-7 team in the Super Duper Bowl, and nobody wants to be that guy.
Yeah, but he was a strong 5-17. We all knew
He was
that.
a strong 5-7, but he's still 5-7.
You know what? Before I
Well, he came
end
out
this,
of nowhere after those losses, and here this guy who, he needed help to get into the playoffs and got it. So
yeah, I know he went on a bad losing streak too. But before I forget, is there any thought to maybe changing that next year? Like, fixing somehow tiebreakers where, you have your division winners that get in, and then if there's 4 other seeds or 4 wild cards, it's the 4 best records, then the tiebreakers. Like, does it matter where it comes from? Or should we just keep the history how we've always had it?
I think we emulate the NFL, who has, division winners and then wild cards in one conference and wild cards in the other. And they
Okay,
don't
Dad,
compare
that's
their
fine.
records.
That means 5 and 7 teams can keep coming in, and if you're a 9-3 team one year and you don't make it, tough titties.
Well,
You okay with that?
I'm going to say I'm okay with it if we're emulating the NFL structure for playoffs.
Well,
I
look
know.
Look at the NFC East this year. Somebody's going to get in with a losing record.
Right.
Yeah, but
right.
that's
And if it's-
winning a division. It's not
if
like the
it's-
wild cards get. Well, they could get it too, which is the weird thing. But
Yeah, exactly. So if the Washington football team gets in, I think there's a good chance they can beat some of those other division winners the way they've been playing lately. So it's okay.
hey, I like emulating the NFL, but sometimes I feel like we could still fix it. Like to make more sense for these other teams. That's all.
I
Well,
watch a lot of MMA and boxing, and I'm a proponent of scoring later rounds higher.
Scoring
So-
later rounds higher.
It's how you finish the fight, not how you started it.
Well, then in that case, Savages definitely shouldn't have been in it. He lost, I think, 3 in a row.
He got in. He had enough
he
points.
got in.
I mean, I guess.
Who didn't get in that you think is better?
Well, I'm okay. So
Well, I think-
fine. I'll look at the standings because there's
But if the Ramones had paid attention to their lineup, it could have been different.
definitely, yeah.
But that's one.
Although I mean, Savages, they have a really good team, and they just, I don't know how to explain it. I'm just trying to say the whole win-loss record thing. It feels weird when I'm saying this because the other league I'm in, the Dynasty, the USFS. I ended up 8-5, and I'm not in the playoffs because 2 6 and 7 teams got in. So,
Were they division winners?
one was, I think.
Were they on the? So one had a was
or were
one was
both
in a
of them
different
wild
conference?
card? Jeff, do you remember?
They're both wild card. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Were they wild cards in another? They were wild cards in another conference.
Yes. So I was 8-5, and there was just so many good teams in the South and North, and then it was a 6 and 7 and a 6 and 7 got in. So one division winner and then a 6 and 7.
It's a different conference. So what is it? I mean, if you get unless you take the wild card, the other way you do is you take the wild cards from any conference.
Right.
And
Well,
in
that's what
our
I'm wondering.
situation, who would that have been? Go back to
It
the
would have been the
standings in our league.
same. It would have been the same.
No,
'cause we have
Ramones
8
would have
look.
got in.
We got 8 playoff teams.
Okay, so if the Ramones had gotten in,
The Ramones record was
Ramones are not a better team than Savages. The better
They're
team
not.
made the playoffs, which is kind of what you want, right?
yep, I agree. The
The
Ramones
Ramones
are not
would
as
not
good as
made it.
Savage.
the Ramones. What are they at?
No.
5,
You
6?
say he's a better team. That's just because of
6 and
points
6.
for.
Well, what else do we measure their strength by? Is that their record? Yes, but you only get a good record by scoring a lot of points.
Well, what's your last power ranking, Gus? What's the last power ranking show?
Yeah, because
That's
that's against everybody, right?
That's got all the measurements, right?
It does.
What's the last one of the regular season?
Where the hell is it? Media? Let's see. Savages was this one. I'll just go to this one. Savages ended up 6th. Ramones was 9th.
There you go. So by every measure that we know, Savages is a better team than Ramones.
Except for the win-loss record.
Right.
Right.
But I mean, you got to throw that out and say, yeah, but look at the teams, and Savages has a better team than the Ramones, and
And look who the Ramones played. The
I
Ramones
think the
played.
system worked. That's the point.
Yeah, I agree.
And the Ramones. I'm going to say it again. They failed to maintain their lineup the punishment you get is you missed out on the playoffs.
Yeah, he could have been in if he'd have put his lineup against me because he would have won.
Absolutely.
Because he could have started two. He had an opportunity to start two quarterbacks.
Would that have got him in
Absolutely.
the playoffs if he finished 7-6 instead of 6 and
Yes, yes.
was?
He
Five?
would have been in over Jess. And he would have gotten
Well-
his ass kicked, it looks like, because he didn't have a good lineup this past week against you, Joe.
Yeah, but again, he failed to change his lineup. Not that that would have made that much difference, but anyway.
No, that's a good point, though, Dad. He would have made the playoffs. He would have been 7-5. He would have got his ass kicked in the first round, but not knowing that going in, you still would have said, well, he made the playoffs, so see what happens.
I'm just throwing it out there as an idea. Like, I'm fine with this year. I don't mind having to play Savages at 5-7. I just figure, what if you were in the position you were 8-4 and didn't get in the playoffs because of 5-7 team?
You're right. And that does suck. But in this particular case, right? The Savages made it into the playoffs, and they do have a better team. Now, the argument would be, the argument might be different. I had a thought. Keep going. I'll come back to it in a bit.
So
I think there's something to this, though.
in 1990, I think it was either 1989 or 1990, the San Francisco 49ers had a 10-6 record and did not get into the playoffs, which is the most
Patriots had
egregious.
11-5 in that one year that Brady.
Yeah.
Matt Cassel.
And that's because the Saints unexpectedly won that division out of nowhere, because the Saints used to be at NFC West a long time ago. And the 49ers didn't get in because of the way the tiebreakers worked out for the wild card spot. So stuff happens, Patriots, you mentioned the Patriots. It happens. Weird shit happens with that stuff. That's football.
Sometimes it comes down to, well, should have won another game. It sucks to say that, and I understand the pain, but win another game, and that's not an argument.
But it doesn't happen.
The thing
often.
is, the example I'm trying to say is like the one for the dynasty league I'm in. I went 8-5. The one that got in was 6-7. I won 2 more games than this other team. How much more do I need to do? Like, I was just in a powerhouse conference, and I had the points for. I had a great team. I was only going to get better because I have McCaffrey on the bench waiting to go.
That one only has three.
You can improve fantasy football because you can make it whatever you want. If you're in the same position, would you not want to basically say, yeah, I'm a great team. I should be able to still compete. I just got the short end of the stick of where I was put in a division,
But if that's
if you take that away, then conferences don't matter anymore, and you might as well not even have conferences.
Dude, I agree. And one of the things I proposed in the Dynasty League was we are a 12-team league, go to 14 teams, and then have a 13-week schedule where it's just one huge super division.
I think there's some good argument for that even at the NFL level. But they're not going to do that because of tradition.
Yeah, and I'm fine with NFL staying the way it is. But we have our league history and everything.
If you're going to do that kind of thing, you should probably play in a league that doesn't have conferences, just divisions.
Yeah. Well,
or maybe not even divisions. Just take the top teams and seed them.
If we have people leaving this year and we were at 16 and we dropped down to 14 or whatever, I don't even want to add 2 more teams. I think let's change it to 14 and we can fix that. So.
Are we losing 2?
I don't know.
No, we don't know.
Does it look like we're losing 2?
I don't think so. No, I don't. I think we only really have one owner who's on a question mark, and I think if we work hard at it, we may be able to flip that to okay, I'll stay in. We'll have to see how that goes, but no, I agree with. I think a 14-team league would be pretty cool too. But I also like to see it play itself out a little bit and see. We've been at 16 teams for 2 years. Why don't we give it another year and see what happens? And if it looks like things are normalized a little bit, then we give it another year and we'll go from there. We've only been doing this for a couple of years, and I think we just kind of got to get our feet under ourselves and understand it. I don't think this happens that often either. It's not a common occurrence where a team with a better record makes it into the playoffs over a team that has, or a team with a worse record makes the playoffs and a team with a better one could have. I don't know if that really happens all that often. It's unusual.
I just want to throw it out there for anyone who has to go through it. I think Smuffs went through it 1 year. Hookham went through it 1 year. I'm going through it in the dynasty. It's going to happen. It will happen again if we don't at least throw it out there for people to think about. So.
What would be, like we talked about in the USFS of and it was just thrown out there and shot down, but expanding the playoff pool from whatever it is, 6 to 8. That wouldn't work because, yeah, I get David made a good point. He said, you know, it really cheapens, you know, the playoffs, and I agree. But that's a 12-team league. What about in a 16-team league and 8 teams made the playoffs?
That means half the teams make the playoffs.
Wait,
Yeah,
we already have 8 teams that make the playoffs.
We do 2, 4. Oh yeah, we do.
We
Don't
do.
I'm
We
sorry.
have
So what
8.
you're suggesting
We
is
have
maybe 10. And if you do
Yeah.
that, you're basically saying it's almost like the NFL now where you have 7 seeds on each side and there's one bye week now for the AFC and NFC, or one team that gets it.
Yeah.
I guess we could think about that. I don't know. Actually, I don't think that really works. 10 teams, and then you'd have 2 teams off. You'd have your weird seating. I don't know. I'm not sure how that
We
would
might have
work.
to have like 2 weeks of buys, and that's not cool.
But in
Yeah.
fantasy, that's putting a playoff game up near the end of the regular season, where
Right.
teams may rest people, and you know you could be really fucked.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That's yeah, that we don't want to do that either.
I guess it just sounds like y'all are fine with having an 8-5, 9-3 season one year, and if you don't make the playoffs, that just it is what it is, right? That's what I'm hearing.
If that's the structure of the league, that's the structure of the league.
Fair enough. I just if y'all don't want to avoid that situation happening to you, that's fine. I personally don't want it to happen to me. I would hate to go 8-4. I had like the 4th best record or 5th best record in the conference I'm in, but I just got screwed, you know.
You got a raw deal in the USFS, and that's only, again, like you put it, it was just a powerhouse conference that year, this year. And, you know, but on the other hand, you know, the teams that did make the playoffs, the wild cards, on that side, you know, Monty's team is very good. Monty has a fantastic defense, and that his defensive lineup can take over a game. And on the other side, you got Pete, who his record does not reflect how good he is. I mean, he has stockpiled so much talent on his team that I'm going to find it really tough to say that he can't win at all, even though he's got a whatever 6-7 record going into the playoffs. That just sucks. But on the flip side, like I said before, the system kind of worked because both those teams are really good that made the playoffs, even though they didn't have as good a record as you did. I know what you're talking about, and I'm sure it's going to happen to all of us at one point or another. But I don't know how common that is that it occurs. Like last year, I don't think this is a situation. Year before, I don't think that happened. I could be wrong, but I think it's really rare.
Didn't that 5-7 team in our league? Didn't that 5-7 team just knock off a 9-3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
So
record doesn't make it much.
I'm just saying. I think Ramones ends up going to a different. Whatever. It's fine. I'm not gonna beat the dead horse. So, all right, fellas. Anything else?
I'm
Who
good.
plays tonight? Is there a game tonight?
yes,
Who plays?
Oh, fuck! It's Thursday. I forgot about that.
Well, you know, the schedule's so weird now. You have Thursday games, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
we got games every week, every day now.
Is it the Rams?
Looking right now. Yeah, we got the Patriots at the Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's whatever.
That's better than most Thursday night games. I'll just say.
I don't know. There's been some good Thursday night games this year.
Really?
Yeah.
I like to watch the Thursday games. They're the only ones that are in 4K. I don't know why that is. The NFL should have already fixed that, but whatever.
So you know how the Steelers played this past Monday and then Buffalo was right after? They should move to having 2 Monday games like every year. Or what I mean
that'd
is
be good.
2 Monday games every week from this point on.
That'd be
it's
good.
Awesome starting it at 4:00 our time. I guess that's 3:00 your time, Gumby, but still you'd be able to end of work days tune in.
Yeah, I get off at 2. So
oh well, there you go. Like it sounds awesome to me. Like to have 2.
Yeah, the Thursday night games used to be a lot of fun, especially I don't know if they're still doing it this year because I haven't really messed with it, but Amazon would stream them on Amazon Prime and you could select which commenters you wanted to listen to.
That's right.
And
That's
and
awesome.
they had these two guys from the UK, English one. They had this Scottish dude and this English dude that were freaking phenomenal to watch a game with. Oh, look at him go. He's a man among boys. He's bowling them over left and right. Look at him go.
That's awesome.
Fucking awesome.
That's cool. Hey, speaking of music, Jeff, have you been practicing Hotel California? I laid it down on GarageBand. I got most of it done, and I'm working on some of the leads in it. But it's pretty clean. It sounds pretty good. I had Ayanna sing the song. Of course, she started laughing halfway through it, but I'll send it to you when I finish up these leads and shit. Sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah, send it over. I've got the like I'm not doing any of the finger picking or the arpeggio style. It's just playing the chords. But the chords,
Right.
I got them right. I don't have the chorus memorized, but the entire like the verses and everything, I've got that all down.
Yeah, it's easy enough. I'll show you some more on that.
Cool.
I want to teach you the actual ending. That's good for finger practice and
Yeah.
dexterity. I'll show you
Yeah,
those.
I want to learn that part. The whatever I don't know what the full lead is, but that's the part. And
Yeah,
then we can do the dual guitar when we play it.
I'll show you that.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, y'all. Good luck to everyone who's still in it. Still
Yep.
competing.
Good luck, y'all.
Have a good week.
Likewise.
All right. Thanks,
Well,
guys.
take care, guys.
See y'all later.